Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to Get Well Soon, the Red Pill content of Welly F, aka Moriarty. And hopefully, I don't have to keep you here too long. I just want to pretty much just get to the point. Everybody sees what's going on in America right now. And it's a possibility that this is happening in other countries too, just based off the fact that a lot of people are tired of being cooped up in the house and they're already enraged to begin with. So this all just works as a excuse to burn shit down. And I just wanted to start off by saying, obviously, rest in peace to George Floyd. Rest in peace to all of those that are victims of police brutality to the point of a fatality. Like, I truthfully believe that nobody should feel unsafe in police custody. I feel like a person in police custody should feel safe. It's the same as somebody that hires the police to protect their property. You would hope that if I hired a police officer to protect my property, it would probably even be better than having a bunch of security cameras and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, that's not the truth. Unfortunately, all across the globe, there are places where our governments use local police force, they use National Guard, they use law enforcement in general as their bullies. And I came here today to say this is something that's not going to stop anytime soon. And obviously, I always try to tie in some red pill to this. And from a red pill perspective, I just want people to understand that I see the virtue signaling. I see the hypocrisy of individuals, especially in America, pretending that they truly value the lives of black men, which can be far from the truth. Because obviously we wouldn't be standing here right now if the life of black men was truly something that was valued. For everybody that's listening to this, that's probably not even staying in the country. If you're from Canada, you could be from Sri Lanka, you could be in Russia, who knows? But shout out to you guys. And if you're listening, I want you to understand that the value of black men in this country, as you probably see on TV, is not very high. I was telling my friend on a podcast that we were doing that usually when you look on TV and people talk about incels, they always really show the white incel. For instance, you talk about Arthur Fleck from the Joker movie, and you talk about, the mass shootings. People always talk about white incels, the white male incel. The fact of the matter is, black incels do exist. And to be honest with you, I can only imagine what it would be like to be a black incel. And I'm not finna sit here and say that black incels go shoot up stuff, but that's something that's not even paid attention to. Because as you see, the media and even most industries, when it comes to relaying, if they're responsible for relaying information to the public, they only make you focus on what they want you to focus on. That's why you don't hear people talking about African American incels or black incels, because that's not important. See, if they're talking about black people on the news, to be honest with you, they always talk about black people from a perspective of being helpless. They always talk about black people from a perspective of being, low and needy, in need of welfare, in need of aid. Like that's how America views blacks in general. So I say all this to say, like, don't get it twisted. You have all these companies and you have all these celebrities pretending that Black Lives Matter, but a lot of these people don't even have black friends. A lot of these people don't even have black people at the top of their organization. A lot of these people, when they see blacks on the street, yes, they clutch their purses in 2020. Or if they're not clutching their purse, they're just looking through them like the black people don't even exist. I've lived through this. I've seen it with my own eyes. Don't get it twisted for a second that it's all bad. It's not all bad. It's just that the reality is it's not as great as social media tries to make it, and it's not as bad as social media tries to make it. I mean, honestly, you can meet fairly in the middle. Like, A lot of black people a lot of black Americans that you come across will tell you that, hey, I have dealt with prejudice in one way or another. It wasn't always necessarily a police officer, may have been a coworker, may have been a classmate, may have been somebody in a bar, could be a police officer, but but one way or another, the prejudice and racism has never changed. Like, nothing encourages people in this country to be kind 24/7. Nothing. So once again, don't get it twisted. Don't let the internet fool you and give you this false perspective, this false view, or this false picture of America, because America is, although I could say it's a great place, I mean, I don't even want to use the word great. I mean, America's America. And I've said this before, like, it's like any other place that is dealing with the human condition. If you have humans in a place where you are, then it's a likelihood that you're going to deal with some of these same problems. And once again, most places can tell you, oh, this is a socialist country, capitalist country, communist country. Man, a country is a country. If it got a government, it's going to be abuse of power. If there's a government, there's going to be corruption. Like, if there's police, there's going to be obstruction. There's going to be brutality. Like, this stuff is the same across the board. A lot of times, the only difference is who is getting the abuse. You go to China, Chinese people getting abused. Go to Africa, African people getting abused. You go to Russia, Russians getting abused. This is the reality of the human condition. But once again, we are living in times where media manipulation is very, very, very present. Listen, blacks in America have not seen true prosperity since the first quarter of the 20th century. I'm talking Jim Crow era. You may say, oh, this guy's tripping. No, I'm being honest with you. When Booker T. Washington established the NNBL, which is the National Negro Business League, he established something that caused a ripple effect. And once again, if you want to, you can check out the latest podcast that I put down in the description. But I just want you to understand that this title speaks volumes, because the title is "The Winners Write the History," and you need to recognize that there's so much truth in that. Because I'm telling you right now, the NNBL put black people in a position to not want for anything from the white man. And that was a problem. You on their soil, quote unquote, their soil, and you're prosperous, and you're not sharing your dollar with us. Oh no, we're about to come and get that. And once they accomplished burning down many Wall Streets, many black districts, many black business areas that were thriving, blacks had no choice but to turn to whitey for help. I mean, what were you gonna do? The black businesses that once stood tall weren't hiring. You needed a job. You had to provide for your family. Guess what? Gotta go work for the white man. So I like to just narrow it down to this window and just tell people, man, we've been going through this for the past 120 years. And to be honest with you, from a perspective of how prosperous black people were in the first quarter of last century, I don't think that we'll ever see anything like that again. I think that the distribution of wealth will always be lopsided in the black community from here on out. Yeah, you have a LeBron James, but guess what? With a LeBron James, you have 100 crackheads under a bridge in Oakland. You have Oprah Winfrey, you got 100 prostitutes on a corner in Houston downtown. You see what I'm saying? This is the red pill aspect of it. This is where we are in America, especially as blacks. It's sickening out here, man. But don't let the media make it seem like it's actually sicker than what it is. I mean, once again, America's America. There's people out here that know how to survive, know how to live. So if you see pictures of people that aren't protesting and they're living their life, that's a privilege that we have in America, because everybody doesn't have to pretend that they're suffering. Everybody out here doesn't have to actually be suffering, because a lot of things in America come down to the decisions you make. A lot of things that you do in America come down to accountability. I know a lot of people hate to hear that because it sounds like, oh, you're saying just, strap up the boots. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that if you go back and you look at a person's history, you can see sometimes that they strayed off onto the wrong path. And sometimes you veer off on a path that's so fucking bad, it's hard to come back from. And in America, that's real easy. Because in America, it's almost safe to say that debt is tradition. To be in debt is a traditional part of life. And some people fall so deep into debt that they can never come back out of it. So that's just some of the things that I like people to think about. And once again, at the job that I do, I'm able to talk to people pretty much all around the country. And I've heard people tell me like, hey, I'm in Oakland and I heard gunshots last night, helicopters wearing over my head. It was hard to sleep. People in, Atlanta, Georgia telling me like, yeah, you can look up in the sky, you can see stuff burning. Me personally, where I am, I'm not dealing with any of that, because once again, and I'd like to close off on this, I'm a single father. I consider myself a family man. And the minute I realized that I would be in a position to be a family man and I had to do what I needed to do in order to keep my child safe, I immediately recognized that the city isn't safe. So I moved to a more rural area. It's not absolutely rural, but it's a lot more suburban than living somewhere where the city hall is around the corner and where you're dealing with city police. Like, I don't think that is a beneficial way to raise a child in modern America. Once again, some people do it greatly. And once again, I'm not saying that we're immune to the things that happened to George Floyd. I'm just saying, because in actuality, I mean, it's trouble out here too. But in actuality, like, you can at least see that there is a huge difference in the culture, the criminal activity, the opportunities, the schooling. It's different when you're in a rural area. And I feel like my advice to people, especially my people, is a lot of these cities don't even want you. So you're constantly migrating to these big cities, pretending or under this false belief that you're about to get these opportunities, when in actuality, you just get sucked in and now you're living under a tent. Now you're living in a tent under a bridge, when you really could have been better off moving away from there, going somewhere that's not super established already and making a name for yourself there. That's just my advice, because when I look at what Booker T. Washington was able to do with the NNBL, the things that he was able to do with Charles Clinton, the things he was able to do in North Carolina, Atlanta, like, man, that's the first thing that comes to mind. It was like, man, like, these places were ripe for opportunity. And I think that that's what more people need to start focusing on. Rather than trying to be with the herd, I think it's better to start to move away from the herd. And me, like I said, I feel like that's the red pill part of this. And don't pay attention to all those virtue signaling idiots out there that want you to believe that, like I said, America is all bad. But like I've said before, like, America's America, and I still value the soil that I stand on, and I can't imagine being anywhere else. But at the same time, I just feel like it's up to me to grab whatever greatness there is to grab. And I feel sorry for anybody that is slain under the protection of a police officer, because like I said, if you're in police custody, you should feel safe. That should be the safest time of your life, is to be with a police officer. But unfortunately, that is not a reality in this country. I still stand firmly on what I say, that all of this is just another psyop. This is just another distraction. But even with that being said, like, let's keep it a buck. Like, we have to stop. We have to start realizing that there is always a bigger picture. And I'm gonna finish by saying that you need to grab a book. You need to check out your history, get your facts straight, because the same year MLK was assassinated, Richard Nixon was elected. And I'm telling you right now, when MLK was assassinated, it was the same sort of disaster that took place across America. And in the end, you still got a leader. You still ended up with a leader that you probably didn't want. So don't think for a second that all of this stuff happening is not political, because everything that happens this year will be political. Everything that happens this year will end up being overblown, and it will affect the election. But anyways, I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. I feel like I don't have anything else to say, so until we meet again.